Hello, Dave McConville again for Grow Nashua, and we're out in the garden today. We're going to show you how to transplant a couple of cool season vegetables. So we are before the last frost, so right now we're only working with cool season vegetables such as spinach, and we have broccoli. So I'm going to start with the spinach. So the first thing we want to do, we take our spinach seedling out of its tray. And you'll notice that the roots are kind of bound up a little bit. So what I like to do is kind of try to rough up these roots a little bit to let them know they're not in a pot anymore, and they can find their way out. Now, when planting transplants, sometimes what I like to do in order to get the spacing right is I'll actually lay the plants out before I plant them, just to get an idea. So spinach can be planted about 6 to 8 inches apart. So that's kind of what I have here. So I've got my first seedling here. Take my digging tool. Here I use a hori knife, and I just create myself a small hole. Now, we don't want to plant these too deep. If you want to close in here, we'll notice that the crown of the plant is right at soil level right now. So we don't want to plant this any deeper than that. So when we put this in, we kind of put that right into there. We'll start filling in around. And after our plant is in there, we kind of tamp it down. And what I like to do personally is to create a small well around this plant, because then the water will drain towards the plant and help to keep it moist. So then I'll plant my second spinach here. And you can also, if you have some compost, after you dig your hole, you can put a little compost at the bottom of the hole to help feed the seedling. We have some pretty rich soil here, so I'm not going to do that. But so I've scored my roots, and I've got my spinach there. Suck it right in, tamp it down, and create my well. Now, one thing I forgot to grab was the fertilizer. It's in the bottom tray. Is fertilizing the plants as we plant them. So, thank you, Aaron. So we've got some organic fertilizer here, and I'm just going to take a small handful. And we don't want to put this right on the plant or on the roots of the plant. We actually kind of go around the plant and dress like this. And as this fertilizer decomposes, or as time goes on in water, the plants get watered, this fertilizer will get worked into the soil and break down for the plants to absorb. So after we fertilize, I like to mulch, just like we did earlier with the spinach seeds, but since we're planting transplants, we can do a much heavier layer of mulch. And this will help to keep the weeds down around our crop, and it will also feed the soil and keep the moisture in the soil. So we want a nice thick layer. I'm going to put a little bit more on than that. You can, go a couple of inches if you want, depends how much mulch you have. And then we have our seedlings in, and then we want to water them in, and we want to water them in really well. It helps the plant roots to integrate with the new soil that they're been planted in. Starts to wash in that fertilizer. And transplanting can be a stressful activity or stressful event for a plant, so the water helps with that stress. So there's our spinach. Like I said, about 6 inches apart, and if you're planting this way next, you would, I use measurement from pinky to thumb is about 6 inches. So that's how I get my rough sizes. Now we're going to move on to a couple of broccoli seedlings. Now, spinach is a pretty small plant, so it's going to grow, and it's going to kind of stay in this area. Broccoli, on the other hand, can grow quite large. So we like to give broccoli about 12 to 18 inches of space per plant. So if you're doing the square foot gardening technique, that's 1 broccoli per square foot. So here we've got, I'm going to put it about a foot away from our spinach, so there's 6 inches. There's our foot. I'll put my first broccoli here. Same process as with the spinach. We remove our broccoli, score the roots a little bit. This one's not too root bound, but score it a little bit. Create our hole, get last year's root out of there. We're going to put our broccoli in, and again we want to go right to that crown. And actually I'm going to show you a little close-up of the broccoli plant. You can plant this a little bit deeper, but you can see it's kind of discolored here and then starts turning green. We don't want to plant any deeper than that, so I just like to try to go right up to that existing crown. And the same thing, tamp it in. I like to create that little well around it to help the water drain towards the plant. And then I'm going to measure, I'll go this way, 1, 2. This is our second broccoli. Dig our hole. Score our plant roots. Put in our seedling. Tamp it down, not too hard. We just want to tamp it down. We don't need to press real hard. Create that well, and now we have our 2 broccoli plants. So next up, just like the spinach, we're going to fertilize these too when we plant them. So we'll take a little scoop of the organic fertilizer and we'll do a ring around the plant. And this will get washed down towards the roots, and as the roots expand. The reason why we don't want to go too close is that fertilizer has a lot of nitrogen in it, obviously needed for the plants. And with the seedlings, too much nitrogen can burn and kill the roots. So we want to kind of give it its distance till the plants get really well established. So we got our fertilizer down. Now we take our mulch, a nice thick layer. So we're using a straw mulch that has been treated so it doesn't have any weed seeds in it. There is a difference between straw and hay. You don't want to use hay because hay has seeds. You want to use straw. And then we've got our seedlings in. And our last step is to give them a drink. This again helps to keep that mulch down. Since there's a lot of mulch, we're going to put a lot of water here to soak through that mulch, get down to our seedling. So broccoli is part of the cabbage family of plants. So cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, mustard greens, these are all brassicas in the same family. These can all be planted in the same manner. So that's it today. Reach out to us if you have any questions. Thanks for joining us.